You know that feeling, right? That dull ache in your neck after maybe too long at the computer. Or that nagging soreness in your wrist from doing the same thing over and over. We all feel things like that. But what if it's more than just temporary discomfort? What if it's a sign of something bigger, impacting not just how we feel, but maybe even our ability to work? Welcome to our deep dive into upper limb disorders, or ULDs, in the workplace. Today we're digging into insights from the health and safety executives, pretty comprehensive guidance. Our mission is really to unpack what these disorders are, why they're such a significant issue, and crucially how workplaces can get proactive about preventing and managing them. It's about well-being, sure, but also about business resources. We'll even touch on some surprising facts and practical steps. So these aches and pains, they're common. But what exactly are we talking about with upper limb disorders? How is it different from just, pulling a muscle?
Yeah, it's a good question. ULD is really an umbrella term. It covers medical conditions affecting the muscles, tendons, ligaments, nerves, basically the soft tissues and joints in the upper body. So neck, shoulders, arms, wrists, hands, fingers. You might have heard terms like RSI, repetitive strain injury, or cumulative trauma disorder, but those can be a bit misleading because they often imply a single cause. The reality is, usually multiple factors contribute. That's why upper limb disorders is, the preferred, more accurate term.
Okay, so it's broader than just repetition. What are the typical signs then? Is it just pain?
Pain is common, definitely. Aches, discomfort, maybe tenderness, swelling, sometimes numbness or tingling, that pins and needles feeling. Stiffness too, or finding it harder to move, maybe weakness, reduced grip strength. But sometimes the real warning signs are those subtle functional changes. That slight weakness you can't explain, or just not being able to grip things as tightly. That can point to underlying issues building up.
That's interesting. We tend to focus on the pain itself. And it's easy to blame work for every ache, isn't it? But is it always work-related? Or does work sometimes just make existing problems worse?
That's a really key point. And the answer is, it's nuanced. No, not every ULD is caused solely by work. But experience definitely shows a strong link. Either the work activities are a direct cause, or they aggravate a condition that started outside of work. See, our bodies are designed for repeated, low-force movements. But prolonged strain, maybe from holding a static posture for ages or doing very frequent forceful actions, that can be harmful.
And work tasks are often different from what we do in our own time.
Exactly. Work is often more repetitive, maybe more forceful. It goes on for longer periods. And crucially, we often have less control over how and when we do it compared to, say, a hobby.
So scaling this up,
Yeah.
what does this mean for businesses and for the people working there? The impact must be pretty significant.
Oh, it's huge. Musculoskeletal disorders, which include ULDs, are actually the most common type of work-related ill health in Great Britain. We're talking over half of all self-reported cases. That's more than 1 million people affected. And think about the lost time. Back in 1995, and things haven't necessarily gotten better, an estimated 4.2 million working days were lost just due to ULDs. The cost to employers then was pegged at least 200 million.
Wow. 4.2 million days. That's a staggering amount of lost productivity, not to mention the direct costs. It really makes you think.
It does, and it underlines that this isn't just a minor inconvenience.
And these numbers suggest it's not just happening in specific heavy industries, right? It sounds widespread.
Absolutely. It's less about the industry title and more about the task itself. We see high levels of arm pain linked to known risk factors across a really wide range of jobs. Think assembly line workers, cleaners, construction workers, people sewing garments, hairdressers, food processing like meat and poultry, even mushroom pickers, pottery workers.
Office workers too.
Yes, definitely. Secretaries, temps, anyone doing intensive keyboard work. The common thread is often the repetitive nature, the postures, the force involved, regardless of the setting.
So beyond the obvious human cost, the pain, the potential loss of livelihood, why should employers really sit up and take notice? The business case seems pretty strong.
It is. The human cost is undeniable: pain, suffering, lost earnings, the impact on families. But the business costs are just as real. You've got issues with quality control, drops in productivity and efficiency, sickness absence costs, recruitment and training costs for replacements, the risk of litigation, potentially bad publicity, and even rising insurance premiums. It's like that tip of the iceberg idea.
Right.
One person reporting symptoms often means many others are exposed to the same risks and might be on the path to developing a disorder too. It signals a wider problem.
A hidden problem, potentially.
Exactly. And let's not forget, employers have legal duties under the Health and Safety at Work Act to manage these risks. It's not optional.
That's a lot to take in. So you know there's a problem. you know the costs. But how do you actually turn that awareness into meaningful action? That often seems like the biggest hurdle making it happen in practice.
That's where the health and safety executive's 7-stage management cycle comes in. It provides a really sound, practical framework for building an effective program to manage ULD risks. It starts with management needing to, well, first understand the issues and then genuinely commit to action. That means visible leadership, clear policies, proper systems in place, and then creating the right environment, fostering worker participation, clear communication, making sure people have the right skills, and assigning clear responsibilities.
And involving employees is key, you mentioned.
Absolutely crucial. It's actually a legal requirement to consult employees, but beyond that, they're the ones doing the job day in, day out. They have the best insights. Their involvement is vital for success.
Makes sense. Okay, so you've got commitment. How do you then actually find the problems on the ground? Are there specific warning signs to look out for, maybe things that aren't immediately obvious?
Good question. Assessing the risk involves identifying those problem tasks and then doing proper risk assessments. And yes, there are definite warning signs. Obvious ones are injury or sickness records showing musculoskeletal issues. But look for subtler things too. Are there jobs workers seem reluctant to do? Are there frequent complaints about discomfort, even if informal? Watch out for people making their own improvised adjustments to workstations or tools. That's often a big clue something isn't right. Requests for transfers, people regularly using painkillers at work. These are all red flags.
So paying attention to those maybe quieter signals.
Exactly. You can use a simple risk filter as an initial screen to flag tasks needing a closer look. Observing the work being done is also invaluable for spotting specific risk factors in action.
And when you need that closer look, what does the detailed assessment involve? You mentioned an ergonomics approach.
Right. A detailed risk assessment uses ergonomics. And ergonomics isn't just about fancy chairs, you know?
Ah, yeah, that's the common perception.
It's really about designing work to fit the person, taking into account people's capabilities and limitations to optimize their health, safety, and, importantly, their productivity, too. It's about making the work suit the worker, not forcing the worker to adapt to poor work design. Think about that process worker example, assembling a product. Their job gets broken down into tasks, like attaching a handle, maybe grinding something, packing it. Then you break those tasks down further into elements, like picking up tiny screws with a pinch grip, or drilling a hole, maybe at an awkward angle.
Oh, okay. Getting really specific.
Precisely. That level of detail lets you pinpoint specific risks, like repeated use of that pinch grip or awkward arm posture during drilling. Then you can target your solutions much more effectively.
Okay, so we know how to start looking for risks. Let's zoom in now on what actually creates those risks.
Yeah.
What are the key factors we need to be really aware of, perhaps the ones that often get underestimated?
We can group the main risk factors into 3 buckets: task-related, environment-related, and worker-related, or maybe psychosocial factors. And the crucial thing is, they rarely act alone, they interact. Like, gripping a heavy, vibrating tool for hours involves force, awkward posture, duration, and vibration all piling on top of each other.
Let's start with the task itself. What are the big culprits there?
First up is repetition. Work becomes repetitive when you're using the same muscle groups over and over or making frequent movements for long stretches without a break. This stops the muscles from recovering, leading to fatigue, inflammation, tiny bits of damage building up. Second is working postures. We talk about awkward postures using parts of your body way outside their comfortable neutral range. Think working overhead or constantly bending your wrist. And then there are static postures, holding one position without relaxing, like gripping a box tightly for a long time. Both restrict blood flow and cause fatigue pretty quickly.
And force. That seems obvious for heavy jobs, but maybe less so elsewhere.
Absolutely. Force is key. It can be handling heavy objects, sure, but it's also about excessive muscle effort, like trying to undo a really stiff bolt, or even just local pressure from a tool handle digging into your palm. And here's the tricky part. Awkward postures, how fast you move, the weight, any vibration, these can all increase the amount of force your muscles actually need to generate.
So a bad posture makes lifting even a light object harder.
Exactly. And things like grip force are really affected by handle design and wrist posture. A poorly designed tool handle can make you exert way more force than necessary, even for a simple task.
And the fourth task factor was duration.
Duration of exposure, yes. Simply how long you perform the task per shift, per week. Remember, many ULDs are cumulative, so the longer the exposure without enough recovery time, the higher the risk. It's the total load over time that matters.
Okay, that covers the task. What about the work environment?
Right, environmental factors. First, vibration. Hand-arm vibration from power tools is a big one. It can cause conditions like vibration white finger and contribute to carpal tunnel syndrome. It also affects sensation and grip strength. Second, cold. Working in the cold, handling cold items, even just cold air blowing on hands or arms can reduce blood flow, dull sensation and dexterity, and weaken your grip.
Makes sense. Harder to work precisely when your hands are freezing.
Definitely. And third, lighting. This might seem less direct, but poor lighting, too dim, glare, shadows can force people into awkward postures just to see what they're doing. Bent neck, hunched shoulders. It adds strain.
Okay, this next one feels really important, the psychosocial factors. We're moving beyond just the physical mechanics now, aren't we?
We are, and this is critical but often overlooked. A worker's psychological response to their job and the workplace conditions significantly influences their musculoskeletal health. We're talking about how work is designed, organized, and managed, and the whole social climate at work.
Can you give some examples of negative psychosocial factors?
Sure. Things like having very little control over your work pace or methods, high demands on attention or concentration for long periods, not being able to use your skills fully, feeling uninvolved in decisions that affect you. Also, highly repetitive, monotonous tasks, machine-paced work that dictates your speed, maybe inappropriate monitoring, or payment systems that actually incentivize working too fast or skipping breaks, limited social support or interaction too, and high effort without sufficient reward, feeling undervalued.
Wow, that's a broad range.
It is. And what's really interesting is how physical and psychosocial factors often combine. Tackling both usually gives the best results. Thinking about psychological well-being when designing jobs is a real game changer.
And finally, individual differences play a role too.
Yes, briefly. Biological factors, skill levels, body size, existing health conditions, they can all influence susceptibility. Vulnerable groups, like new or expectant mothers, also need consideration. A good ergonomic approach aims to design tasks that work for pretty much everyone in the workforce.
Okay, so we've mapped out the complex web of risks. But what's the game plan for tackling them? How do companies move from identifying problems to actually fixing them effectively?
The key is to aim for higher-order solutions first. That means prioritizing eliminating the hazard at the source. Can the task be redesigned completely? Can it be automated? Can you substitute a different tool or process? That's always preferable to relying on lower-order controls, like just providing personal protective equipment, or relying solely on training, which should be seen as supplementary.
So fixing the root cause, not just managing the symptoms.
Exactly. And the ergonomics approach is central here, making changes to the task, the environment, and considering the individual or work group. Crucially, involving workers in developing solutions, that participative approach leads to much better, more sustainable outcomes. They know what will work in practice.
That makes perfect sense. It sounds like a smart investment. Do you have examples of where companies have really made this work?
Absolutely. Let's look at Easter egg and chocolate box packing. The problems were highly repetitive tasks, awkward postures, forceful pinch grips, and significantly a piecework payment system that pushed people to work through discomfort.
Ah, that payment system adds a tricky layer.
It really does. The solution involved redesigning the packing operation to cut out awkward movements, shifting to a salaried pay structure to remove that pressure, introducing job enlargement, so one person did the whole assembly, and engineering workstations for better posture and visibility.
Bad results.
Fewer reported ULDs, definitely, but also better production efficiency, less waste, and improved staff morale. A real win-win. Or take poultry processing, the chicken hang-on task, high repetition, awkward reaches, force needed for 2-kilogram birds, cold environment, machine-paced work, a classic mix of risks.
Sounds intense.
It was. The fix came in 2 phases. First, a redesigned workstation, lower shackle height, better hopper position, easier shackle design. Phase 2 is bigger. They eliminated manual hanging altogether with a direct feed system. The impact was huge. Significant drop in ergonomic risk, fewer ULDs reported, and one company saw employees on light duties fall from 2.6% to 0.7%, saving an estimated 500,000 pounds in direct labor costs. Another factory saw an almost 80% fall in light duty staff. Real bottom line benefits.
Those are compelling numbers. What about computer work? So many of us do it, and the risk feels subtler.
Yes, the news media organization example is great for that. They brought in new off-the-shelf software but used it for long news stories it wasn't really designed for, leading to excessive clicking and typing. This happened during a major news event, causing high workloads, plus organizational changes, creating significant psychosocial stress on top of the physical strain.
A perfect storm, almost.
Pretty much. The solution wasn't just new chairs. They reviewed hardware, software, furniture, made changes to workstation layouts and the software to reduce repetition. But critically, managers also changed work organization, shift patterns, how deadlines were managed, directly addressing those psychosocial pressures.
So tackling the stress and workload as well as the physical setup.
Exactly. And the result was a significant drop in new ULD cases, with over 60% of the original cases eventually deemed cured or dormant. It really shows the power of looking at the whole system, physical, technical, and organizational.
It's clear these proactive solutions work. But how do organizations make sure these improvements stick? How do they prevent new problems creeping in? It's about sustainability, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This brings us to the ongoing management part. First, educating and informing your workforce is vital. Training isn't the main control, but it's crucial for reinforcing safe practices, teaching people how to recognize early symptoms in themselves and others, and encouraging early reporting.
Making people partners in their own safety.
Precisely. And involving employees in developing and even delivering the training makes it much more effective.
And if symptoms do appear despite prevention efforts.
Then you need effective managing any episodes of ULDs. Clear systems for early reporting are essential. Managers need training to respond quickly and supportively, review the risks again, and implement better controls. Critically, employees must feel reassured that reporting symptoms won't harm their job prospects. Trust is key. Early medical advice, proper diagnosis, and good return-to-work plans are all part of this.
So it's an ongoing cycle requiring constant attention.
Yes, which leads to the final point. Carrying out regular checks on program effectiveness. This involves both monitoring, continuously checking procedures, looking at symptom trends, using data like accident books or surveys, and reviewing. Reviewing is less frequent, more strategic, assessing the overall program's effectiveness, especially after changes in the workplace. It's about learning and continuously improving.
The whole framework really highlights how interconnected everything is, the physical tasks, the organization, even the psychological climate. It's like an ecosystem for workplace health.
That's a great way to put it. Integrating all these elements is truly the key to a sustainable and successful approach.
So today, we've done a deep dive into upper limb disorders. We've seen how these common conditions, often dismissed as just aches and pains, can really have profound effects on people and organizations. Understanding the risks from repetition to those hidden psychosocial stressors is clearly just the starting point.
Exactly. The real power comes from a systematic, ergonomic approach focused on prevention and effective management. Redesigning tasks, improving tools, fostering supportive cultures. These solutions don't just improve health, they deliver tangible business benefits too.
It's a powerful thought, moving beyond just compliance. It really leads to a bigger question, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you wonder, if workplaces were actively designed for optimal physical and psychological well-being from the outset, rather than just reacting when things go wrong, what kind of wider impact could that have? Beyond just the usual health and safety stats, could it fundamentally change how we experience work, making it a source of vitality, maybe, instead of just wear and tear?